absolutely devastating.
Oh! This is Joey Owens' show. They've been trying to get me on this podcast forever, and this is the worst damn podcast I've ever been on. So you all can kiss my ass while I win this match.
All right, what's happening, everybody? Welcome to G.W.R. Gonzo's Wrestling Room, Friday, May 12th, 2023. I'm Chris Gonzalez, joined by Tony Gonzalez. And we got special guest Blake Wright joining us tonight. How's it going, Blake?
Hey, what's going on, fellas? How are you?
Not too bad. Finally, not gonna lie, finally recovering from last weekend.
Oh man, you and me both. I'm almost not sore after all the matches last week, but optimistically feeling good for all the shows that we had. So great weekend.
Well, we were talking about it. I couldn't imagine how you guys felt because a lot of you guys wrestling 7, 8, 9 matches that weekend. Some people maybe more. It was a long weekend for us, and we weren't taking no hits or anything.
Oh man, and the worst part of it too, like everyone always like assumes like, it's like, oh, after the match is got to feel terrible. I think the worst part is like when it's stop and go. So like when you have a match, then it's like, okay, now I've got 3 hours of downtime. Like I want to lay down, but I know the second I lay down, I'm going to get stiff as a board. So you just got to be on your feet and move around. But it was an amazing weekend, but we're almost not sore. So.
Then I'll let you go, Arv.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty cool weekend. What was your thoughts on the whole process? Is that the first time you've ever done anything like that?
Yeah, that was the first time I've ever competed in a Comic-Con, and I thought it went terrific. I think it went out with that itch. Which big props to Pops, aka Joey Owens. He busted his butt off getting everything ready, and doing something like that. Running one show a day is hard enough, let alone running 2, 3, 4, 5 shows a day. So. Yeah. I thought it was awesome. The majority of the shows are standing room only, which, that always makes it, 10 times easier. So, but yeah, I loved it. It's probably one of my all-time favorite weekends of my entire career.
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. And Joey and his staff and WCWO deserves a lot of credit, but all you guys wrestlers, man, all of it, everybody performed great, to the older veterans to the guys that's just been around for a couple years. I mean, just put on great shows, man. And I talked to some of the people out in the crowd, had the opportunity to talk to some of the people and most of them had never seen WCWO, and they were just blown away. And hopefully you guys will get some new fans down there at the Dub. I hope,
yeah.
But
and also, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank you guys for, recording that. I know we couldn't go live there, but being able to post it for all the people that weren't able to go. And, just your guys' commentary was great. And big thanks to you guys, because all the people that weren't there got to kind of see what all the company was doing, when they weren't there. So that was awesome. So big thanks to you guys. I know Joey and the entire locker room super grateful for you for that. So.
We was just thankful to be invited and really happy. Already been invited back for next year. They've already been booked for next year. So already know the dates, March 22nd through the 24th. So we're ready.
Yeah, and I'm ready too. I'm excited for it, man. With crowds like that are that hot, I'd wrestle 7 days a week in front of crowds like that if I could.
Yeah. It was really good crowds, and
not only did they run that many shows there on Friday night, they were running 2 shows at one time because they were still running the regular show at the Dub as well. And that's just, to me, is amazing to be able to do 2 big shows like that at one time, and it seemed to all go on without, like he said, without any hitches. And just I don't think the weekend could have went too much better.
No,
yeah,
I don't.
We've got I agree. And I was the part of the show on 1151 South Kentucky Avenue on Friday, and from what I heard, Friday was great there too. So, to be able to run 2 shows, like, maybe 2 miles apart from each other is kind of unheard of, especially on the independent scene. So, we're very, very fortunate to have a great, great team, with guys like Joey, IK3, Big Pete, Reggie, and all the boys in the back. It was great that we were able to accomplish that. So very, very proud of everybody.
It's crazy because people don't realize how hard some companies, and I'm not putting anybody down, but some companies struggle to put on one show a month and to be able to do one show a week and then to be able to put everything else together. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
Counting the show Friday night, the dub, there was 13 shows that weekend.
Yep.
Yeah, wow. That's crazy.
44 matches, not counting the dub.
Yeah, which is, I think the night of the dub, there was 6 matches that night. So 50 matches in one weekend. Matches. That's just incredible.
That's nuts.
Yeah, there wasn't no repeat matches or anything like that either.
They had some matches. They had some matches to set up some other matches and things the next day and some things like that. So I thought that was good. And what was your favorite moment for you of the weekend, if you can say?
Yeah, I think it would be my match against Logan. It's no secret that Logan and I, we trained at the same place. We've spent plenty of car rides together. We've partied together. We've spent a lot of time together. So to be able to compete against him in front of a standing room only crowd, like that was awesome. I was really, really excited about that. But I really love that. And I think also too, one of my favorite moments was after the show ended, all the boys coming into the ring and just like, you could see it kind of on all of our faces, just of how happy we were with how everything went. It was a perfect weekend, man. And, I think, whenever you can do that, with a wrestling company and, because in wrestling, there's lots of things going behind the scenes, but for all of us just to be genuinely happy at the same time, like that's kind of unheard of in the business.
Yeah.
So, but if I had to pick one, it would have to be my match I had against Logan.
Yeah, it was a fantastic match. We've seen a lot of matches already this year. I don't know if I'm gonna call it the best match I've seen, but it's definitely up there. Maybe the best match. Because I go back as we start looking at things towards the end of the year, I'll have a list of 10 or 15 matches, and then I'll go back and watch them again, and then I'll try to decide, which was my favorite. But you guys were right there. But there was so many really good matches this past weekend that it was really hard. They did a great job. You guys did a great job, and
thank you.
You and Logan put on.
Oh, sorry. What were you saying?
And by the way, you look phenomenal, man. You was on all weekend, man. I mean, you look great.
Thank you, man. Yeah, no, I mean, when I broke my foot, I kind of just had, because when you're injured, it causes you to stop and pause, right? And that was the longest I was ever, not wrestling. And, I was really just focused on becoming the complete package. I was like, okay, I can talk, my in-ring abilities there, but I was like, I need to get a body. So every day while I was out, I was in the gym, I was finding creative ways to do cardio, even if it was putting my foot on a skateboard and doing the cable row machine for cardio. So I really just focused on my body and just kind of watching my in-ring stuff and critiquing myself. So I appreciate that. So that, and I think, now that I think this is the best form I've ever been in myself, because I always see when guys come back from injury, they usually put on some pounds or, they have some ring rust. And I was just adamant that okay, when I do come back, this is the best I gotta be. So I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much for noticing that.
Oh yeah, man. And just not the body transformation a little bit. It was just, everything you did in the ring was dead on. All your mic work was dead on. You was as good as I've seen you. You really was. I'm being honest. I'm not trying to blow smoke or anything. I'm being serious. You really look good. But a lot of guys look good. I think the event, I think that had everybody up and hey, everybody was doing everything they could do. So there was a lot of great performance.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, and it was, I felt on all week, there's times where, we have off nights and stuff like that, but when I first came back, like there was some stuff where I was like, oh, I'm not happy at that, or I should have done better here. But like the past like month, I've really like things are starting to click again. So that's been nice. But I think too, like the biggest thing that I'm proud of is like, so you'll see this at wrestling, like when people get in front of bigger crowds, I think that's when you really learn like if you're meant for this business or not, because wrestling in front of small crowds, like, yeah, you should be able to do that, no problem. But when you have all these people that have never heard of you before watching you, that's a challenge. And I think, you got two options. You can either step up or you can step aside. And I think everyone on the roster stepped up. No one got taken away from the big crowds. So, I couldn't be more proud to be a part of the roster than I am right now.
The talent did a really great job. And what I mean by that is that you guys had all these Comic-Con fans come in, and there's some people may just come in and watch one match and then leave. But most of the people came in, and if it was a 3-match show or 4-match show, they would stand for most of it. A lot of them stayed for all of it. But I seen several fans. I know one family who came in for the very first show. They never missed a show the whole weekend. After that, they watched every show. And
I heard about that fan group, and I noticed that too, and I was like, that's amazing.
Yeah, and there was other people that I seen watch 4 or 5 shows. There was one gentleman there that was just blown away. He don't live very far from the Dub and didn't even know existed, and he was just blown away. And when he seen Congo Kong come out, and Congo Kong was one of his favorites in Impact, of course, he didn't know he was there, and he was just completely blown away. And so he was pretty fired up about the Dub. So I think you definitely going to see him come there. So
yeah, and that's awesome too. And like it's great because like in independence, like when it comes to like marketing your show, that's where a lot of companies struggle. You can go out and you can flyer and you can promote on social media, but like the best thing that I feel like is just like that word of mouth. And like what better way to market your show than to run a show 2 blocks away in front of, there's probably thousands of different people that came in and watched us, which that's awesome to say. And I honestly say too, because a lot of guys will say, oh yeah, thousands of people, but like we can probably say that there were thousands of different people that came out and watched us, but to kill it like that and to spread the word and just everything was professional about it. The new ring canvases, the new ring skirts, the whole setup like that, like just an A+ weekend.
And so, like you said, it's hard because you're going out fans that's not used to anybody. Where like when you guys do the shows at the Dub, or if you do BCCW or another place where you're regular, like War Pro, where you was regular, the fans know that you're a heel, or they know you're a baby face. They know what to expect. They act in kind. They're doing the clapping or they're doing the booing. You guys are coming out cold. It don't take them long to figure out who the good guy and the heel is. But you guys, all of you, was winning the crowd over. They were clapping when they needed to. They was booing when they needed to. The crowd was hot. And that's amazing to have that many hot crowds with people that are not fans.
Especially when you're wrestling multiple times during a day, because the louder they are, the less everything hurts for us. It'll still hurt after the match, but yeah, it's like it's easier. Everything's just easier. You jump higher, you hit harder, and yeah, just an amazing, because I was a little. The good thing about Comic-Con and liking comics and superheroes and animes, like there's a lot of parallels to pro wrestling.
Yes,
so, I'm glad that we were able to do that. And I think probably the coolest thing too is it's no secret the WCWO has a school. But Joey was able to sign up some trainees. So we were able, and I always think this is the coolest thing, because, when you inspire someone to be like, that's what I want to do, like that's one of the coolest feelings you can think of. And, Joey's got some trainees out of it too. So I'm on cloud 9. And I think a lot of people, with the company are on cloud 9 about all of it. So, and I'm so excited that we're going to be back there next year.
Yeah. And what's cool is that I know there's no secret that Joey and WCW had some struggles in the past.
Yeah,
not going to dwell on that, but there has been. And so to see this, and now Chris talked to Joey a couple of nights ago. He's got all kinds of places calling him, wanting him to go do shows on the road. He had other phone calls that I won't go into, but of people calling that used to not call. We'll just say that. And it's pretty interesting, when you get out there in front of a bunch of people and people notice.
Oh yeah, and you know, the Dub will always have a special place in my heart because, like, that was one of the first places that booked me regularly, and that's really where, like, I learned who Blake Wright was as a wrestler and, you know, and as a character. So, you know, like, I remember, like, my first time there was, like, 2.5 years ago. It was in the middle of the summer. It was stupid hot. There's maybe 10 people there, and, like, to be able to see it grow, you know, because there was all these question marks about it, you know, oh, we'll still be around, this and that, like, what's the future of the place? And to be able now where it's just like, hey, it's not going anywhere and it's getting stronger and stronger and stronger, like, that just makes, you know, that makes me happy. And I'm sure it makes so many people in the back, you know, guys like, you know, myself, Dex Royal, the highlight reel, Jordan James, like the guys that were there 2.5 years ago when no one wanted to be there. Now everyone wants to be here. Like, that's the coolest full circle moment.
Yep. And also, I know you don't want, I know you really don't want this, but also you got the other end of it where people are jealous of you and upset with
Yeah.
you. I've heard those people say stuff too. So, and I'm not saying you want that, but hey, if you're doing something right, when you got a lot of people cheering for you, and I guess you're doing something right when you got a lot of people hating on you too, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like, you know, like, if you're not, you know, if you're not making enemies in this business, then you're not making progress or you're not making money. So, you know, there's always
Yeah.
going to be those people, but you know what, like, I've just learned, you know, being in the business, like, you can do everything. Like, if someone doesn't like you, you know, you can do everything. You can learn what their favorite food is, what their favorite beer is, like, you know, what their favorite sports team is. You know, you can do all this, and you know, you can brown nose them all day, but like, sometimes when it comes to wrestling, like, some people just aren't going to like you, and that's okay, because, like, I think I'm beginning to learn, you know, like, yes, have I made so many great friendships and relationships in the industry? Yes. But, like, I've learned at the end of the day, like, it's a business, it's not a social group. Just, you know, making friends and making connections and relationships in the business, like, that's just one of the pros of it. So, like, that's kind of how I see it. So, like,
It's kind of like life. You the people that have your back, you have their back. The ones that don't have your back, you just kind of deal with when you have to deal with.
yeah, and I've just learned, you know, just kill them with kindness, you know, and just, you know, take the higher road, and, you know, just focus on, like, the positives in life and not the negatives. And, you know, but I'm very, very happy with how this past weekend went with, and, you know, and, you know, and I want to see all the indies strive. You know, I'm not one guy because I'm an independent wrestler. So, like, I don't want to see us survive, you know, do well. I want to see every single company do well.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. You have any big matches this weekend?
yeah, so tomorrow I'm at Tri-State Wrestling in Hamilton, Ohio. I'm wrestling Sam Beal, and then something that, like, just dropped on me today. So I'll be flying to New York for a loop of shows at the beginning of next month. So I've got a Thursday show June 1st in Massachusetts, and I'll be wrestling in between there. But so I'll be wrestling in Massachusetts when I fly into there, and then that Friday I'll be wrestling in New York. Then that Saturday I'll be in New Jersey, and then that Sunday I'll be in Maryland. So four different states and 4 different days. So big shout out to my buddy Jarrett for helping set that up. But really looking forward to that trip because, you know, knocking off 4 states in 4 days, like, that's rare air. So I'm super happy about that.
I'm curious. How does that come about? How does that happen? I don't know the behind the scenes stuff as far as, you know, I know about, you know, here in Indiana and that, but be able to get 4 different states. How does that come about? How does that happen?
Yeah, so each situation's different. So, like, for example, like, I'll use, like, the company that you know, contacted me, like, they contacted me months ago. They shot me an email, you know, they're like, hey, we're thinking about this date, you know, and pretty much you come to an agreement and everything's good there. So, like, they reached out to me, but, like, for example, like, every place except the place on Sunday, they reached out to me in Maryland. But, like, every other place, like, it's just like applying for a job, if you will. You know, like, you send your resume. You know, hey, I'm Blake Money Wright. I'm this tall. I weigh this much. I trained here. I've been in the business for this long. You know, I've wrestled these names. You know, I'm hungry for an opportunity. You know, and you send them a promo pic. You send them a couple matches. and you just hope to hear back. And you know, I've just learned the squeaky wheel gets there. What's the saying? Like the early bird gets the worm. So like, you know, the more adamant that you are, the better it is. So like, I mean, I'll be real. Like, I mean, I shoot my shot with dozens of companies on a weekly basis. It's something that TJ Perkins kind of instilled on me. He's kind of one of my mentors. Is, you know, he just told me, you know, very early on, he's like, hey, like, you should be contacting this many companies a week. Just shoot your shot. Like, the worst that could happen is like they don't get back to you, or they just leave you on red. And I've just learned not to take that personally, and just to move on. So it's a little bit of marketing yourself, and then, you know, hopefully, you know, once you build a big enough name, you know, they'll become knocking on your door.
That's I mean, it makes sense. I mean, you got to market yourself. I mean, I'm not saying people won't come looking for you, but it's not going to happen a lot. You know, I mean, not putting you down in any way, because you're definitely worth looking at. but I mean, you know.
Oh yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, no, and I completely get that. You know, because like at the end of the day, like pro wrestling owes me nothing. You know, I got to be the one going out there and putting the work in, and you know, and helping too. Like my buddy Jarrett Diaz, great friend of mine. Him and I actually played college football together. Like, he lives in New York, so I'll be staying with him. But you know, it was kind of one of those games where I was like, hey man, like, A, I want to hang out with the guy. B, well, first and foremost, I want to wrestle, but B, I want to hang out with the guy. But it's just kind of like a game of like, because he came to Indiana a couple of years ago, and he's like, hey man, I want to work in the Midwest. So I was like, okay, you know, here, work here. I got you booked. And now he's just returning the favor, being like, you know, because he's put me down like, hey, you should book this guy. His name's Blake Wright. He's going to be here these dates. And, you know, it's one of those like revolving doors with wrestling, where it's kind of like, okay, hey, I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine later. So,
yeah. And to go back to the marketing thing, the more places you go, and probably there's maybe certain cities better than others, like going out to Connecticut or Jersey and places like that, better chance of the right eyes seeing you. Not saying it can't happen in Indiana, because there's people in Indiana that can make it, but the more places you market yourself to, the more that somebody that is looking, that, you know, whether it's Impact Wrestling or WWE or whoever, that may see you.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And like, how I see it too is just like, I mean, I'm wrestling 100+ matches a year. And like, if I'm always in Indiana, like, don't get me wrong, I love the Indiana wrestling scene. Like, some of my best friends wrestle in this state. But like, I'm getting to a point in my career, there's only like a handful of guys I like wrestling over and over again. So like, I love the first time matchups. Like, tomorrow I'm wrestling Sam Beal. Him and I, we've been on shows, but we've never touched. And like, when I'm going, you know, out on the East Coast, I'm sure there's going to be plenty of first time matches there too. So like, I love the first time matchups, because it's just like, it's something different. It's a challenge. Like, oh, is the chemistry going to be there? Let's find out. So that's what I strive for. That's what I kind of live for in the industry.
And that's also, like I said, if you, that can make a difference possibly if you're wrestling. I'm not saying a bigger name, but somebody else that's pretty your level, or maybe some people may think that better than you. I'm not saying that they are, but if you go out there and you perform at a high level, that's another thing. If you're going out there against somebody that's not as good as you, it's harder to shine.
Yeah, and I mean, and each their own. I mean, it's a challenge, because like, you know, if you know, I'm wrestling someone who, you know, may be beneath my skill level, it's my job to bring them up. And you know, it's the other way around. Like, if I'm wrestling someone that's 10 times better than me, then they got to bring me up, and I got to step my game up. And that's a beautiful thing about wrestling. It's all about balance. And you know, like, to use like someone as an example, like, Shawn Michaels has never had a bad match. Like, it doesn't matter if he's wrestling Undertaker or if he's wrestling an extra that got booked for Monday Night Raw. Like, it's going to be good. That's why he's the showstopper. You know, that's why some people call him the GOAT. Same thing with Bret Hart. So like, that's one of the more like beautiful, poetic things about professional wrestling.
I definitely get that. I'm going to wonder, do something a little bit different. I was wondering if you could maybe give you a second here, maybe give us a couple stories on the road.
Man.
And I know you can't go X-ray, so.
Oh yeah. So all right. So man. So like, what's What's some that come to mind?
Is there one? Can you give me an old one and a more recent one? I'm putting you on the spot.
An old one and a more recent one. So, all right. Let's see here. Trying to think of like one of like my very very first ones. Oh man, that's tough. 'Cause I'm trying to keep it PG because a lot of them are, they're out there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll tell an out there one, and
Okay.
I'll keep it PG, not cuss or anything. So, wrestling has very many unique fans, if you will, right? So, on Instagram, I was doing like an Ask Me Anything, right? And where pretty much you put a thing in your Instagram story and people can ask you things anonymously. So you can't see who's asking you these questions. So there was and that's kind of like the fun in it, some people talk crap during it and some people ask you questions and stuff like that. So this one person asked me, he was like, hey, where do you get your wrestling gear? And so I was like, I just like dropped the name of the person that was making my gear at that time. And then that person DM'd me and like revealed who he was. And I won't say his name. And he was like, no, I was like, talking about the personal gear that you wear. And I was like, oh. So then I was like, all right. So like, and I'm super new to the business. So like, I'm like, is this a thing? So, I'm asking some veterans around and they're like, yeah, like that's a thing, and a wrestler's got to pay his bills. So they're like, like you should totally do that. So I'm like, all right. So then I'm like talking to the fan. I'm like, well, like, what would you want to, purchase? And he's like, I was thinking I'd like to purchase your trunks. And I was like, all right. So, we negotiate this and that. And I'm like, all right. And so like, I ship it to him. And like, we do a few transactions, right? And then eventually, one night he was like, he's like, hey man, he's like, what about your socks? And I'm like, oh dude, that's a little too much for my liking. So I'm like, hey, sure. So we come to an agreement and I do it, right? And so he's always like taking it like one step further. And then he was like, he's like, so kind of a weird question, and don't judge me. And usually when someone says a combination of weird story and don't judge me, like that's when it's going to go downhill. And he was like, I'd like to purchase your toenail clippings.
Oh man.
And I'm like, oh my God. So like, and I'm in a car ride with like a lot of veterans, right? And they can just kind of see the look on my face. And like, I'm the green kid, so like I need to be listening to them, like whatever they say goes, right? So I won't say what veteran it was, but they were like, oh dude, you gotta effing sell them. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like, all right, F it, man. Like, I'll do it. So I put it in like a Ziploc bag, right? So I'm trying to grab something by me that like, it's just like for the store. Okay, here we go. My beanie here. So I put them in like a Ziploc bag, right? And I'm going to the United States little postal service in my small town. And so usually, like whenever I would do stuff, there was always this one sweet old lady that was always working the counter. Her name was Marla. And Marla was getting to the point where she knew me on a first name basis. And usually I would always stuff it in like an express envelope. Now, usually whenever I would like do it with like my trunks, because I don't want Marla to think I was doing something weird, even though obviously it was weird, selling people your wrestling gear. So like usually what I would do is I would like wrap a shirt over the trunk so she couldn't see it, and I would just stuff it in an express envelope, right? So this time I'm like taking extra precautions because I'm like, man, it's a bag of toenails. This is like the weirdest thing anyone's probably ever shipped in like postal service history. So I put it inside this is it. So I put it inside like a shirt, and then I can wrap it in like a hoodie. And then I think I wrap it in like another hoodie. So there's like no chance. And I'm trying to stuff it in the express envelope, and I barely am getting it to seal. Like, I mean, barely, right? So then I'm like, oh, hey, Marla, here you go. And like, I put the sticker on there. Like, this is where it's going. I'm getting ready to get my card out. And she's like, why? And she's like, here, honey, let me help you. And she like opens it up and she's like dumps it out. And so then like, boom. So like the bag drops, right? And so like it's just sitting there, like clearly toenails. And so I look at it, she looks at it, then we look up and make eye contact. Then we look at it again. So we literally double take. Then we look at each other again, and she goes, okay, grabs it, puts it in there. So shout out to Marla for doing that. And so then it finally gets shipped, right? And I'm just like, man, this is disgusting. And so like it's like gone by like a week. So I'm just like, okay, I'm assuming he got it. So like I just wanted to message him out of good faith, like, hey man, just making sure you got it. And he's like, oh yeah, I did. He's like, do you want to see what like I did with them? And I'm just like, nah, man, like I'm really good. Like you could just go ahead. Like, you could just go ahead and keep that to yourself. Like, no, thank you. And then like later on that night, it's probably like 3:30, 4 in the morning. I'm like half awake, and I see that like I get a video from the guy, and I'm just like, what the hell? So I'm like going pee in the middle of the night. And I'm opening up the video, and I stopped the video about 4 seconds in, and it's him opening the bag, like a bag of Doritos, and putting it in his mouth. I'm like, all right, we're done. So to hit him with the blocks. That's like my go-to like icebreaker car ride story. So now I'm no longer in that business. Now that was the one that crossed the line. So
the only thing that would have made that story better would have been if when you went to the post office instead of being in your hometown, it would have been in I believe he works in Anderson, Hollywood House, works at a post office. That it would have been Hollywood House opening the package. I thought that would have made the story better because he works.
See, I would have been like, and I would have looked at him, and I'd be like, Hollywood, you're in the business, like you get this, like what type of fans are out there, man. But that would have made it. Well, now I know if I ever do that again, which I highly doubt. I'll be sure to go to the Anderson post office and be like, yo, House, you're not gonna believe what I'm shipping today, bro.
Well, Hollywood might have said, hey, man, hey, a butt's a buck. Won't you see if he wants some of my, I'm a manager, see if he wants some of my clippers.
Oh, yeah. And then, and let's see. And then when it comes to like newest, so there was a company that no longer exists, right? And this is like my second time working for this promoter. And so the first time it went well, like everything, like he paid me, everything was like completely fine. Like there was no issues at all. The second though show is like he had like this big card booked, like with a few different names. Like I think he had Jake Christ on the card, and then he had Cowboy James Storm on the card, right? And he had this big, beautiful venue, like probably cost a good amount of money. And so like right when I got there, like I shook his hand, I'm making my rounds in the locker room, like everything's going fine. So I don't remember the exact time that the show started, but let's just say like it's supposed to start at like 7, right? And usually like you'd hope like a couple hours before the show, you have your pre-show meeting and all that where you're figuring out what you're supposed to do, but there isn't one. And so it's like 6:45, 6:50. None of us know what the hell's going on. And so like they're starting to get a little like buzz in the locker room, like, okay, like what's going on? So then I won't say which worker it is, but there was a worker that was like, that's still that was his right hand man, that he's still in the business. Great guy. So he like gathers us all up, and we're like thinking like, oh, okay, like pre-show meeting, like let's figure out like, hey, when am I on? Like this and that, yada, yada, yada. Right. And, so then, he gathers us up and he's like, hey guys, like there's no easy way to say this, but Booker has no money. So you can still wrestle for free if you'd like, but none of you will be getting paid. So if you want to leave, like I completely understand. And like a freaking riot is starting to happen backstage because there's a lot of testosterone going on.
Yep.
Some people are just going like, hey, you know what? I don't care. I'm just going to go home and, go hang out with my wife on a Saturday night and just enjoy it. And then there's guys that are like, oh, is that his ring? Like, if so, like, I'm going to cut the ropes. I'm going to cut the canvas. I'm going to light it on fire, like, real hot. And then there's guys like me where I'm just like kind of confused. So, and then one veteran in the locker room tells us all like, hey, no one, and I mean no one, is allowed to go through that curtain unless we're all getting paid, right? And like it's still like paranoia still happening, right? So then after that happens, there's some dude who is a fan. Like, I kid you not, just like a paying fan. And hold on, I'll read that comment right after this. And so, this guy was just a paying fan. He wasn't a manager. He wasn't a ref. He wasn't one of the boys. He wasn't doing commentary. Like, literally just a paying fan. So somehow and there's fans already in the audience, by the way, too. Like, there's probably like 40, 50 people out there. And so then this fan goes on a live mic and tells the audience what's going on. And he's dropping F-bombs, like being super unprofessional because there's kids in the audience, explaining what's happening, like cutting this passionate little promo with tears running down his face, like freaking out. I'm like, man, this is so bad. This is so unprofessional. And like, so I'm in there and it's me, Logan Myers, Tim Stepp, who is the ring announcer at the Dub because he was just starting his training around then. And then also like Walt Beasy was there too. So like the strangest group of guys in a car. And like Walter's like, man, like what is happening? And then Logan's like, do we go? Like, and then like Tim's just there like, what is going on? And me, I'm just like, look, I think we just need to stay and figure out what's going on. So like an hour has passed. So many threats have been made. Like half the boys want to beat the living hell out of the booker because like that's what happened back in the day. Like if someone didn't get paid, like they pull a knife or they pull a gun out on the booker or they beat him up. Like stuff like that would happen. So we're just staying there. Then eventually the booker's mother comes in and she's asking for everyone's PayPal or everyone's Venmo or Cash App. And she's paying all the boys. The show goes on like without a hitch. And yeah, so that was probably the craziest one was like the show almost getting canceled. And then the booker's mother coming in to like save the day. So that was probably the craziest recent one. But that promotion's no longer running, to my understanding.
We know what promotion
we were actually supposed to be at that show.
Yeah,
no kidding.
Yes,
no kidding. Oh, Dalton was a part of it too. Yeah, Dalton was there.
Yeah. I had COVID. Was the only reason we wasn't at that show. Yeah. I was at home with COVID, or we supposed to be at that show.
Dude, it was funny. Like one of the names that were like booked like on a card was like, "Is that his fucking ring?" Or, sorry, I didn't mean to cuss. Is that his effing ring? You know, I'm gonna go cut his ropes. He was the guy that said he's gonna burn down the ring and all that stuff. Man, but yeah, it was crazy. And the funny thing is too, like Logan was so excited because he was supposed to win his first like championship that night, which that's an awesome feeling as a wrestler. And he's like, well, I guess that's not happening. And then the show went on, he got the belt. And I think I won his heavyweight championship that night too. And like, I just remember like after winning it, I was like, all right, well, this isn't going to last for a while. Like this is probably the end. So, but yeah, as Dalton said, that was probably the worst show that I've been a part of, that he's been a part of, that most of the guys have ever been a part of. It was just unreal.
Yeah. That promoter's tried to run a few shows since then. I don't think he's ever got one off the ground, and I think he's done. But he's tried.
It's gonna be hard to do it because, like, between you and me, I still have his championship belt because I know he owes a lot of the boys money. So it'll be hard to do it if he doesn't have his heavyweight championship belt. So
yeah, that's true. yeah, we know exactly who you're talking about. We was at a show before that.
Yeah, we was at the show before that,
and some of the people that was booked at the second show, the one you're talking about, was booked on the first show. So I think I know who you might be talking about to said some of those things.
And I'll message you. Yeah, and I'll message you offline so we can confirm. But yeah, like and I mean, because like so at one point, like to my understanding, like he was pretty much blacklisted out of it, and then he like made a return, and like he was treating people well. Like the first show, like professional, everything was fine, and then the second show, like I could just tell by the freaking vibe, like you could just feel it in your gut, like all right, something's wrong, but. I wish you guys were there for that, man. That would have been a hell of a experience for you guys. It was crazy.
Yeah, the show that we went to, the first one we went to that he had, the first half of the show was probably one of the worst shows we've ever been to. Now the second half of the show was really good. It was a really good show, but that was the one that we went to.
But he had,
of course, he had
Chase Stevens,
James Storm. He had some pretty good guys, and then. I know who you're talking about, the guy who was kind of his right-hand man, and possibly had the meeting because he was trying to help him that show. And matter of fact, after that show, this one gentleman who, like you said, super nice guy, called us and said, just to let you know, I have not having anything to do with him ever again, and just giving you guys a heads up. And we said, well, we're not either,
dude.
so.
And he messaged me after that, and he messaged me a similar message, and I was like, brother, like, it's okay. Like, I know you. You're a great guy. Like, you don't have to worry about it. But yeah, it was unreal, man. I mean, I'm glad to hear that, that when he tried to run again, that everyone was like, no, that's not a thing. Cause it was a cluster F, that's for sure.
Well, he's tried to run with people being somebody else being the owner and him not being, he's tried everything and it's just fell apart.
Oh man. Well, I mean, hey, that just shows, like, in the business, like, what goes around comes around. But yeah, and it's just like when stuff like that happens, it's just like, see, like, those are the guys that should be getting their name through the mud. Like, not the good guys out there that are just putting on good shows. So, but I don't know. Hopefully, he's found another passion interest outside of professional wrestling, because I just don't think that's necessarily for him. So, but yeah, it's a crazy night, man.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah.
Are you wrestling at the Dub tonight?
So I am not. I might be, actually, because I got a text from someone there saying they might need to fill in. So I might have to hop in my truck after this one and head down there. But as of right now, I'm not. But I might be. But for sure, I'll be there next Friday, regardless. So.
Did have a question. I don't know if it's happened to you or if you've seen it happen. Have you been to any shows where a fan has gotten in the ring or came at you or another wrestler?
Or I'm sorry, you cut out at the end. The last thing you said was another wrestler,
or where a fan has either went at you in the ring, like a fan jumps in the ring, or even outside the ring tries to hit you or anything, or maybe another wrestler. Maybe it wasn't you, but it happened to somebody else.
Yeah. So, yes, it has happened to me. So, like, during, like, and I took it as a compliment. And so, like, when I was, like, going through, back when I was the owner of WCWO, there's a certain fan that didn't necessarily take a liking to me taking Joey's company. And I was making my interests, and, like, every single week I was like, I'm just going to make this guy more and more mad. Because, like, usually, like, when I'm wearing my heel hat, I'll figure out what fan hates me the most, and I'll just make his life hell during the show. Like, I'll just make him want to see me get my butt kicked the entire show, right? So me and this guy, we kind of got, like, face to face for a little bit, and then I was like, all right, I was like, you know what? I was like, he's always wearing this stupid hat, so I just, like, went and, like, knocked his hat off his head, right? Just, little playful like this. His hat went on the floor. And then as I was, like, walking by him, he swung on me like a big old haymaker. I missed it. But I was like, oh, my God. And then he's trying to challenge me to a fight outside. So that happened. And then, after me and Joey's cage match at Cagemas a couple years ago, there was, like, a big thing at the end where Jonathan came out. It looked like he was going to help his dad get his company back. In reality, he was on my side. And there was a certain fan at the barricade, like, while me and, like, Wolf were standing there celebrating, that was literally trying to, like, jump the barricade, like, to the point where, like, security was like, hey, man, like, you have to stay back. And it's actually kind of funny because, like, this fan was talking all this stuff, was calling me all these, like, slurs that'll get you canceled nowadays.
Yes.
So, like, terrible things, right? So then it was funny because then, like, after I lost ownership of the company, I took a little break from the Dub, and during that break, I think he assumed that I was gone, right? So then Joey was having, like, tryouts for training day, because usually the first day is just like a tryout, like making sure you're in good enough shape, that you're professional, this and that. And Joey asked me to lead that tryout day. So I was like, okay, great. And so, like, right when, like, so all of them are there, and, like, I'm running a little late. And so, like, I come in just looking like a grizzly old man, like, with a black coffee in my hand, and, like, I'm putting on my shoes. And I get in the ring, and I'm just like, hey, guys, I'm Blake. This is what we're going to be doing today. And I'm looking around, and I see that guy that was trying to jump the barricade. And we locked eyes. And I was like, oh, man, I'm going to make your life hell. I was nice to the guy. But yeah, he was one and done after making him bump a ton, making him run the ropes. And I wasn't trying to get him to, quit the business per se, but I think I kind of spooked him. But afterwards, I even told him, I was like, hey, man, it's all good. Like, it's all behind us. Like, just stick with it. You're going to do this. But he learned it wasn't necessarily for him. So I thought that was kind of funny. So.
Yeah, I did. there's so many people out there that think pro wrestling would be easy. I've never been one of those people, and I'm way past my prime where there's no way I could try it if I wanted to, and I don't think I'd ever want to anyway.
Hey, you got a shot, man. You got a shot. Give it a shot, man. You and me will go win some tag titles. We got this.
Blake, I'm almost 60.
Hey, Flair was wrestling in his 70s. You got this, man.
That's a point.
Yeah, but his body was all calloused. I have no calluses. In other words, and I don't want to say anything incorrect, but I'll be honest, I'm a pussy. So
That's
no,
all right, man. Hey,
no, thank you.
all right. Well,
hey,
if you decide, you'll tag with me. All right. That's
hey,
okay.
the big thing's been going around. DCCW's got a big show tomorrow night for Bearcat Rumble in Muncie, and they're having a micro match. I'm gonna call them micros because I may come face to face, and if I say the wrong thing, I don't want to get punched out because they think you're somebody out your size. They wanted me first. The idea was for me to get in the ring and wrestle. That's not happening. Of course, my wife's in my way. Now, the second idea was that they wanted me to be the referee, and
Okay.
I was for that as long as nobody touched me. My wife put a stop to that. She said, "No, you're not getting the ring because one of the midgets one of the micros will end up touching you, and it's going to turn out bad. You know how bad your body is already in the shape you are. No, you're not doing it." And she said, "Don't make me leave work and come there."
That makes me love Mike King. Even was it Mike King that pitched it to you?
You know it was. You know it was.
Well,
hey,
first he told him they could go through a table.
Yeah, first they wanted to put me through a table. I said, "I'm not going through. We'll get a small table." I said, "That's not going to make a difference." I said, "You get a damn TV tray.
It's still a table." Yeah, it's still lumber that you're going through. It doesn't mean if it's a coffee table or regular. Yeah, you tell Mike King. Tell Mike King when you see him tomorrow that he still owes me Applebee's. He'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So
I couldn't be a giant. I couldn't be a giant microman. I'm only 4'11" myself, so I won't be a giant.
Hey man, if you want to get the micro, if you want to be a micro wrestler, man, I'll train you, and in 3 months you'll be a champion. I promise you. We got this, man.
My opportunity was to be a jockey many years ago. No, I had that when I was like 19, and I didn't do it because you was like a half-year-old. So I mean, I didn't do it. You want me to be Kentucky. That was my opportunity.
Man, see what you did. Your dad could have been winning the Kentucky Derby last weekend, man.
Yep, that's exactly right. It's all your fault.
Well, that people already think you're a jockey.
Blake, have you heard that story?
No, I've not. I'd love to. I'm always down for a good story.
I was at Hoosier Park at a concert. It was I'm terrible with names. A real good Southern rock band. Molly Hatchet. It was Molly Hatchet, matter of fact. And it was inside. It was a free concert. And before the show, there was horse racing. And it was the last horse race of the year. And my wife had been wanting one of those whips that the jockey used. And this one jockey said, "On my last race, I'll give it to you." So he gave it to her. Well, we go see the show, and she'd been holding it the whole time. As we get ready to walk out of the venue for the concert, I said, "Here, give me that whip. I'll carry it for you." Well, we're walking. Well, here comes this drunk guy. And he says, Are you a jockey? I said, "Yeah, I am." He said, can I get a picture with it? Sure. So I'm lined up with him and his wife and his buddies, and they think they're taking a picture with a jockey. And of course, the people I'm with, my wife, and they're just completely losing it, cracking up. Yeah. And we're sitting there. I'm sitting there holding that whip, and they think they got a picture with a jockey. So,
dude, see, you and me were kind of cut from the same cloth, man. Because like when I was playing college football, so I went to Anderson University, which was AAU, right? And so whenever I would go to like partying on a Saturday night after a game, like I would go to like Ball State, or I would go to Butler or IU or Purdue, because there's not a whole lot going on at Anderson University. And so like usually, my Instagram bio used to literally just say like football player at AAU. So then like girls would like see that, or like they'd be like, "Oh, okay, where do you go to school?" I'd be like, "Oh, I go to AAU." And they'd be like, "Oh, what about you there?" I was like, "Oh, the education. I play football there too." And the first time I said that, some girls like, "You play at Auburn?" I'm like, and like I'm thinking about it for a second. I'm like, damn right, I go to Auburn. Damn right. I would get like Auburn, I would get Alabama, I would get Arizona, and I'm like, yep, I'm D1, not D3. D1 for sure.
What's hilarious also about the jockey thing was when I first started going to the horse track, I went up to a restaurant to eat, and they gave me a 40% discount, and I'm like,
because you were a jockey.
They thought I was a jockey.
Hell yeah!
I mean, I had a card for a 10% discount, but they kept giving me a 40% discount, and it happened 6-7 times. Well, finally, I went up there one day, and I didn't know what was going on, and they said, "You have your card," and I give them my 10% card. No, your other card. I said, "What do you mean other card? For your 40% discount?" And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. She said, "You're a jockey, right?" I said, "No, I'm not a jockey." So I've been getting this discount 7 or 8 times, and I got a buddy that works there that's pretty high up, and he just thought it was hilarious. I mean, he just thought it was funnier than heck. Matter of fact, he was over all the food service at that time. Yeah. He's even higher up now,
dude. So what I'm getting from this, man, is that you and me need to go to Hoosier Park so you can get me some discounts. I think that's what we need to do.
We was at Shelbyville, me and him, for the Preakness, and we're eating a barbecue buffet, and there was an older couple next to us, and they said, "Excuse me," and we said, "Yeah," and they said, "We was wondering, would you guys have any good horse tips for the races or anything for the Preakness or anything?" And said, "No, why?" And so, "Well, we thought you guys were jockeys." Both of us were jockeys.
They thought we were both jockeys.
I guess they thought we was father and son jockeys. I guess.
That's what you guys should have ribbed them, as we like to call it in the business. Like, oh yeah, all money on the number 4 horse. It's this, it's that. Like, that's when you gotta. I always love joking with people. That's great though. Well, if I ever see you at Hoosier Park, man, I'll be like, "Hey, you used to be the jockey back in the day, right?" Yeah.
Yeah. My wife said, "What are you doing? Why would you take a picture with him?" I said, "I didn't want to disappoint him. He left.
I hope they're like,
I didn't hurt nobody."
And I hope they're huge horse racing fans, and I hope that like they went to work on that Monday and they were like, "Guys, look what I got a picture with."
Oh yeah, there's
I told Dad he probably has it hanging up on his wall.
Picture on the wall.
Yeah, that's great. Hopefully, or maybe someone got it tattooed on him. You never know.
Yeah. That'd be bad. That'd be almost bad as the toenails.
Don't feel bad about that. I've had a fan get my logo tattooed on her before. That happened. Man. So
really?
It was so there was this one girl who would come up to like a lot of the shows up in like the South Bend area. And one day she's like, "Hey, can I get like a picture of like the back of your trunks?" And I'm like, "Man, she asking for a picture of my butt." So like I literally my trunks are in my gear bag, and I just like sent her a picture, and she's like, "Okay, I'll have a surprise for you at the next show." And then on the back of her calf, I'll just send you the picture offline. She got my B1 or my BW with the 1 in the middle, my old logo, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" So you never know. Maybe they got a portrait of that.
I figured you was going to say it was Walter that got that tattoo.
Hey, it doesn't surprise me. Hey.
He'd have you on one shoulder, he'd have Dalton on the other, and what's that? Shane Mercer probably on his ass.
Yeah. See, I was hoping it'd be over his heart. Me over his heart. That's what I'm hoping for.
But it'd be Shane Mercer over his heart.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I would be on the shoulder.
He's in love with Shane. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to work my way up to Shane, man. I got to become Walt's number 1 guy again. I got some work to do. That's for sure.
I hope Walter sees this.
Oh, he probably will.
What's that?
He will, because he usually watches. He watches most of our stuff, so I'm sure he'll see.
Well, I know he was sharing it. So
yeah, he was sharing it.
And he's a good dude. Like I remember, like when he first broke in, he didn't realize like kind of like the pro wrestling humor, how it's very sarcastic, and it's just like, hey, if people aren't giving you crap, they don't like you. I think he took it literally at first when people are doing this. And then I think now he's finally getting it. Like I'm like, yeah, dude, like they're just picking on you just because they like you. If they don't, that means something else. So he's finally starting to get it, which that makes me happy, man.
Yeah, I like Walt. He's always been nice. He's always been good to us. So.
Yeah. Oh, and I know he's got an upcoming show too. Too. I think it's called like Thunder Mania, I believe is the name of it. So I think it's sometime this summer. I don't know. Are you guys going to be doing the commentary for that one or?
Not sure. We're still kind of figuring out what's going on that weekend.
We've been offered something and we accepted it, but we got to make sure that all the details, it's okay to do it. So we may not be there at Walter.
Okay, gotcha.
Not sure 100%.
Well, hey, as Walter's shoulder tattoo, I demand that he brings in G.W.R. for commentary.
Yeah.
And it's also the same time as Basher Mania.
Basher Memorial, yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Friday
Yeah,
and
'cause night
Saturday.
1 is Friday, and then night 2 is on Saturday. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's one. I mean, it's good. It's good because we're getting our name out there. But the other thing that sucks is because it's like some weekends we got to tell people we can't go because we're already booked other places. And it's like if we could just be more than one place at one time.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel sometimes too. Like when certain promotions like hit me up out of nowhere and they're like, "Hey, can you come in Saturday?" And I took like another show already. I'm like, "Damn, I wanted to work for them already, but I already committed to this show, so I can't do it, unfortunately." So
Yeah, and that's how I am. If once I tell somebody we're going to be there, and then if somebody else offers, it's like I've already told them yes, and I'm not going to tell them that I can't be there to come to yours.
Oh yeah, because it's very quick. Yeah, like people in the business, they'll be like, "Oh man, like he bailed out on me," and stuff like that. So yeah, it can be like that. That's for sure.
And then I like going to all of them, but I mean the DCCW and WCWO come before anybody, and then after that it's open.
Yeah, and we appreciate that. I know Joey appreciates that. I know Mike King, even though he owes me Applebee's, I'm sure he appreciates that too.
If it wasn't for them guys, we wouldn't be here. Yeah. So I mean, they've been loyal to us, so we're gonna be loyal to them.
Yeah.
And man, anytime I listen to your guys' commentary, man, you guys just always keep on getting better and better. So yeah, we really appreciate you guys, man.
Yeah, I just look at it. I'm a fan. Just just talking. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean or anything. I'm not no professional broadcaster. I mean, do I think I'm getting better? I mean, I'm trying to, but I'm just there having a good time.
Yeah, exactly. You're the former retired jockey enjoying professional wrestling. Yeah,
that's right. That's true.
You just like watching wrestling.
Yeah, I watch wrestling 7 days a week. So,
hey, ain't nothing wrong with that, man.
I'm sure we're probably gonna watch wrestling when we get done with this.
Watching
Hell yeah.
SmackDown.
Oh yeah, I'll watch some of SmackDown, but I'm gonna watch some. I'll be watching some of the NBA playoffs tonight.
I'm gonna watch SmackDown.
There we go.
I got Game Changer wrestling on, and then I got a hockey game. So I'll be.
I gotta watch the Warriors and Lakers. I'm hoping the Warriors can force a Game 7.
See, I would too, but my parlay today has the Lakers money line, so I need the Lakers to come through.
You took the Lakers money line, didn't you?
I did.
He took the Lakers on our sports betting show. I went with the Warriors at the +3.
See, I always love a good Game 7 unless I'm betting on a Game 6. That's what I'll say.
Hey, I understand that. Well, Blake, was there anything that we didn't touch on that you want to talk about?
No, I'm all good. Just continue to support these guys. Follow me on social media at Blake Money Wright, and just support your local independent wrestling shows.
Yeah, where was you again?
Tomorrow I'll be at Tri-State Wrestling, and it's Hamilton, Ohio, which is just like a neighborhood in Cincinnati. So,
and also,
I was gonna say I don't think that's not too far from where we was at in Cincinnati, where we with Cincy Wrestling.
Yeah, I think it's technically like right in that same area. So yeah,
that's what I was thinking.
I think it's Hamilton too. So there must be a couple different venues in Hamilton. But
I know Emerge has got a show tomorrow night also, and of course DCCW.
Yeah, and I know most people too. I know most people here too that watch your guys' stuff are big DCCW fans. So be sure to support them too. They're at Muncie Central.
Yep, at Muncie Central. Yep.
So.
Oh yeah,
big fundraiser. Hopefully, it's going to do well.
I know it was a great show last year.
Yep. Yeah, Blake was there last year.
Yeah, Blake done some commentary with us.
Blake did some commentary. It was some of my favorite commentary ever.
Oh yeah, that one little kid that called his mother. Called his mother another word for a garden rake.
Yes.
Blake said, "Well, now I feel like shit."
The exact quote was, "I feel like a piece of shit." Yeah. That was the exact quote. I felt like a piece of shit. I wasn't even on commentary. I was there listening, and I was rolling.
It was me, Blake, Logan Myers.
Yep.
Yeah, that was great. That's another wrestling memory I can't forget about. Yeah, that was a good one.
I was waiting Monday. I said, AJ's gonna get a call from the school, and then we're gonna get a call from AJ. But we never heard anything.
Oh no,
Yeah.
no, AJ loves it.
Yeah.
Well, he invited us. We went and done one of their high school meets this year.
Yep, sure did.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, you got anything else, Dan?
No, I'm good to go.
All right. We appreciate everybody watching. Please hit that subscribe button on YouTube at GonzoSportsRoom. We appreciate Blake coming on again. I think this might put him in the lead for
him and Mike King. Well, because Mike was on yesterday, so it's pretty close.
Yeah. I was gonna say, yeah, them two are probably neck to neck, getting neck to neck. Mike might have the advantage just because he used to come to the house and get on about once a week there for a while.
Hey, anybody that's in the Indy area, if you want to see Blake, it sounded like he might have been heading to WCWO tonight. So plus WCW's got a show, starts it here in just
about 20 minutes.
About 20 minutes.
Go check them out.
It'll be a great show.
Yeah, you're not going to be disappointed.
$12. All the seats are good. It's a small venue, holds, and well, when it's packed, I've seen them cram people in 150 in there, but it's an awesome venue.
We appreciate everybody watching. We appreciate everybody in the comment section as well.
Definitely.
And also big shout out to Billy. Billy, we really appreciate you donating to the show tomorrow.
Yes.
Them kids will appreciate it. And I know Coach Bradley, which we really didn't talk about much yesterday because we had everything on, but Coach Bradley used to coach with us.
Yes.
In a club that Dad used to run, and so I mean, we've known Coach Bradley since he was a kid.
Yeah,
I've known him. I grew up with him.
I coached wrestling for 28 years, and Chris, of course, wrestled for me. And then once he got to be 16, 17 years old, he coached all the way till we stopped. By 2013, 14, whatever it was. Like that I retired because it was time. AJ wrestled for me a little bit. He coached with me. He got his start in coaching with me, and then he coached at Muncie South, and then now he's head coach at Muncie Central. Does a fantastic job. Got a lot of kids that are getting better in wrestling. Also, are great kids and do real good in the classroom too, which is important also. So again, Billy, thank you 100%, man, because I really appreciate that. I know, it goes to them and you're doing it to help them, but we appreciate it. Me and Chris appreciates too, because you're one of our guys that check out all our shows, and we appreciate that. And the fact that you thought enough to help out that program, we really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. So, and like Blake was saying, tomorrow night, wrestling doors open at 5. Wrestling starts at 6, Muncie Central High School. Let's pack the place. All proceeds go to the wrestling club. I mean,
everything.
So it's an awesome thing. I know what the money's done for the last 2 years to help that program. I helped a couple of years ago with the youth program there before I've had some health issues. So it's for a great cause. So make sure you if you can't be there, we'll be live tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern. Come hang out with us, watch the show. I'm sure you guys will enjoy it. Last year's Bearcat Rumble was awesome. I'm sure some of the wrestlers might come over and do a little commentary. Most time at DCCW, they
got crazy last.
Some of them come over. Yeah, last year we had Blake Wright, Logan Myers,
Dex Royal,
Hollywood House.
Yep.
Trying to think. Did Mike King come on that day? I don't think he did that day.
No, he didn't, because he was busy.
But Mike usually does when he can.
He was busy with Rikishi.
You never know when Joey Owens and Skull Crusher.
You never know. You may tune in and it may become the Joey Owens show. We may be done. So we may be hit with a cheer and they may just take over. So
a couple months ago they took over again.
Yes, they did. That was an anniversary show.
Yeah, kicked me off the camera
and just let me there with them, and I'm surrounded. Yeah, it surrounded, and in the next show, he tries to get rid of me. He was slamming my head in a trunk. Now he wants to put me in a micro match and go through a table. I think you and Marcus are conspiring to get rid of me. I think that's
trying to get rid of you.
Yeah, I think Marcus said, "Hey, I'll slip you 50. Put his head in the trunk." And he said, "Yeah, do the micro match and have your wife show up. Yeah, if I don't get killed by the micros, my wife's going to kill me."
Marcus just wants a riot. That's what
he wants a riot. Well, if she shows up, there'll be a riot. I'm telling you, you don't want my wife to show up at that show.
I'll be telling the cameraman, if she shows up, you keep the camera there.
And what's hilarious is that I'm 4'11" and whatever, and my wife's about an inch shorter than me.
Yeah,
so She is actually. Most people can't believe that she's right shorter than you. I said, yes, she is.
You guys can have a tag team match.
Don't start that. They'll be want to have a mixed tag. They'll bring in a lady micro, and then no one.
I'm calling Mike King when we get done.
Don't start that. We'll be having that. Hey, we could sell a bunch. They'd have to get. They may have to get the field house for that. If they put me and your mom on the flyer, I'm telling you, we could pack that house.
That'd be funny, now.
They'd have to give some of the proceeds to pay for my funeral, but we could do it, I guess. Don't be saying anything to Mike.
But no, we appreciate everybody watching. I hope you enjoyed the show with Blake. Like I say, he's always great when he comes on.
And don't be messaging Marcus.
And tonight was a little different. It was I was good getting him to tell a couple stories because I mean he's been on so many times. And I like everything he had to say about last weekend and how highly he spoke of WCWO and Joey and them. All them stories were great.
The toenails. I was afraid he was going to go even worse. I had another thing in mind, and I was no.
Oh man,
that would have been really something if he would have put that in the package and it would have fell out.
That got me. He was asking the veterans, just like, yeah, you got to do it.
Yeah, that's Mike King. Oh yeah, you got to do that. Mike King's thinking, what a moron. I hope it wasn't Mike King he asked because Mike would.
Oh yeah, I know. Oh yeah, I guarantee you. But please hit that subscribe button on YouTube at Gonzo Sports Room. Like and follow Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram on Gonzo Sports Room.
Dude could ask
we greatly appreciate it.
Dude could ask for half his foot. Michael said, "Yeah, charge him half foot." He said, "Kerry Von Erich wrestled with half a foot. You can."
Yeah, he would.
Mike would. Mike would. I'll even help you cut it off. He'd probably call Vinny. Vinny's the butcher.
And the bad thing is, I can actually picture that.
We'll be at the Vince Given and this year, and they'll be all drunk, and they'll have Blake cutting off his foot and auctioning it off half his foot.
Oh man, yeah, it could happen. You never know.
You never know.
But yeah, hit that subscribe button. We greatly appreciate it. If you didn't check out the WCWO shows at Comic-Con yet, find them on our YouTube page at Gonzo Sports Room. I'm working on getting the single matches out there. I got a couple of them up last night. I'm gonna try to get more up maybe tonight. If not, be working on it this weekend. We'll work on it on Sunday because tomorrow I'll be doing Bearcat Rumble stuff. But we appreciate everybody watching. We will see you guys on Monday with another episode of GWR. See you guys Saturday night for some live pro wrestling. Hope everybody has a great weekend.
That'd be absolutely devastating.
This is Joey Owens' show. They've been trying to get me on this broadcast forever, and this is the worst damn broadcast I've ever been on. So you all can kiss my ass while I win this match.